What's up, everybody? This is me, Vincent Tung, the Wandering Warrior, and you may be wondering what I have in my hands. This is a Boutou. It's a type of war club from the Caribbean, specifically the Lesser Antilles. And it reminds us of a time, it harkens back to a time when brave Kalinago warriors were holding off the Spaniards and other sailors, other early explorers and conquerors from Europe. And for 200 some odd years, these fierce Carib warriors held off colonization. And this was one of their favorite weapons.
Now, today, the area is known as the Caribbean Sea or the Caribbean Islands, the Caribbean Archipelago. And this name, Caribbean, is derived from the Caribs. Now, the Carib is a term used to describe an ethno-linguistic group of people that migrated out of South America into the Caribbean, just like the Arawakan people before them. Obviously, there are many nations and tribes, and they refer to themselves by many different names. The group that we are concerning ourselves with today are known as the Kalinago. Now, there is some debate amongst historians as far as how exactly the Kalinago people ended up occupying what is today the Lesser Antilles. As you see here, there were already the Ignieri people, and how that happened is subject to debate. In previous times, many historians believed that the Carib ancestors of the Kalinaga came in and conquered the people living in the Lesser Antilles, killing the men, taking the women, and producing a hybrid culture. Now, many historians are leaning more towards the idea that they came in as a small group of South Americans that settled amongst the Ignieri, and although they ended up adopting, for the most part, the language of the native people, many of their South American customs and warfare practices persisted. Now, the interrelated Kalinago or Kalina peoples, the Caribs of the Lesser Antilles and the mainland of Northern South America, had a complex network of kinship ties, trade links, and war alliances, allowed them to effectively muster warriors in fierce resistance against European incursions and colonization. So, for you guys who know a little bit of Caribbean history, you probably have heard of the stereotype of the Caribs being cannibals. This seems to be a subject that has been surrounded by much debate. Now, it does seem that the actual indigenous warfare practices of the Caribs included captive taking and cannibalism to a degree. To what degree, in which groups, we aren't sure. That said, the indigenous peoples suffering attacks from the Caribs, as well as the Spanish and other Europeans, had reasons to inflate and exaggerate the cannibalistic tendencies of Carib warriors. For colonial administrators, this provided the perfect moral pretext and legal grounds for waging war against the Caribs, enslaving them, and so on and so forth. That said, what is not debated is the ferocity and skill of the Caribs at war. The Caribs had an in depth knowledge of the islands of the Lesser Antilles, as well as all the reefs, lagoons, cliffs, straits, and waterways and currents that they were dealing with. And they masterfully used their war canoes to navigate and outmaneuver European ships in the area. Therefore, they were able to launch ferocious raids upon the colonies. Carib warriors employed supreme skill in archery, as well as spears, and the famous macanas, or putus, their war clubs. These were made of tropical hardwoods, carefully carved with beautiful symbolism, and often used two handed or one handed with a shield back in the day. Some antique examples still survive.
Now, the putu or aputu came in various shapes and sizes. We have really long ones like this, two-handed action. But you also had shorter guys like this. And this one's not complete yet. I haven't finished it, but this is an aputu. It's a hand club. It's used in a similar way as tomahawks would have been in North America.
Now, this particular Boutou, quote unquote, was made by a craftsman in Puerto Rico by the name of Brandon Casul, also known as Cotobanama, and it was made based on one of the longest existing examples known to researchers. This one, as you can see, is kind of stained black, and the carvings, the traditional carvings there, are highlighted by the fact that the gaps are filled in with lime. And yeah, that was no mistake. You did, in fact, hear a crack. Um, this war club had broken while I was swinging it and shaking it just to get a feel for this wood. Uh, and I had taken pictures and sent those pictures to the maker and got a very unsatisfactory reply. So since I had already started making this video, I just put wood glue in it, wrapped it up, waited a while, finished up the video, of course. But the commentary that I'm about to provide comes after I got the responses from the maker. In the future, when I have a legitimate Boutou, one that will actually hold up to war club usage, I will definitely be making more content, getting into how to use this thing and the way Carib warriors fought. For now, this is what it is.
So, what do I think of this particular Boutou itself? Yeah, I'm pretty disappointed in it, to be honest. So it was made by a guy named Brandon Casul, aka Cotobanama. You can find him on Facebook. He makes some amazing carvings from Taino and Carib cultures. But this particular piece, I'm not happy with it at all, to be honest. If you look carefully, the wood choice was really poor. He specifically chose a plank that has a lot of these knots, grain running off, the grain of the wood running this way along this side, and little stuff in there. I mean, you can look at the pictures yourself. Doesn't look very good. So kind of swinging around trying to see how it felt, and I heard a crack, right? This thing was never meant to be a war club. The nicest thing I could say about it is that it was meant to be a decorative piece, a prop, something that looks like a war club but was never meant to be a war club. If I'm swinging this thing around and it breaks, it cracks, this was never meant to smash someone's skull. This was never meant to break someone's clavicle, bust someone's ribs. This wasn't meant for battle. This was meant to just hang on someone's wall and look pretty. Which is not the expectation that I was given when I first contacted him about getting this made. So while I am disappointed, it's kind of useless to try to guess at or wonder why he purposely chose a bad piece of wood. I showed the pictures, explained what happened. He just said, "Wow, that's crazy," and so I assume he doesn't really care. I don't know. At the end of the day, I'm an honest man. You do me right, I'm honest about it. You do me wrong, I'm also honest about it. He has managed to make it so that I can't vouch for him. And I guess if that's the result he wants, that's what he got. Anyhow, disappointments aside, this is all part of the journey. Sometimes people help you, sometimes people burn you, and oftentimes we have to remind ourselves that it's not personal. I highly doubt that Brandon Casul was like, you know what? Screw Vincent. I particularly dislike him. I doubt it. But what I can say is his wood choice speaks for itself. I hope to venture further into Guyana, perhaps even into the Amazon someday. I haven't been back to Guyana since 2012, right? It's been a long time. There are still thriving Amerindian cultures out there, and Arawak, Kalina, right? Makushi, Capon. There's a lot of peoples out there. Why? And I would love to immerse and better understand their culture, their life ways, their environment, and their warriorship. And if I can meet anybody who's still got these or still making these, that would be pretty dope. Anyways, the journey's full of ups and downs. This one's a bit of a down, but I'm inspired to keep moving forward, and I will definitely be visiting
mainland South America and the Caribbean in my future. Guys, thanks for joining me on my journey. I salute yours. Peace.